Hi everybody, I'm here with Dana and we're going to talk to you a little bit right now about cold readings for commercials. Now these are specifically commercials where you would look directly into the camera lens, or what we call spiking the lens. Now normally in acting you would never want to spike the lens or look directly into the lens because that destroys the whole illusion of believability. So what you want to do is for cold read commercials, you're talking to the public. The public is in that camera. Now Dana here is going to show us an example of a cold read, someone that has just been asked to the audition, they got a script that they've never seen before. Maybe they had a minute to look at the script out in the hallway, but generally you don't have a lot of time. So what we're doing here is really a cold read. You ready?
Okay.
Go ahead.
I used to come up to this cabin with my parents when I was little. My mom would bake her homemade chocolate chip cookies here. Simple, but probably the fondest memory I've had. And today, thanks to Mom's cookies, that memory will never fade. Mom's are chewy on the inside and crunchy on the outside, just like the ones my mom used to bake. Mom's, try to remember.
Okay, very good. Now, in most situations when we hold cold read auditions, what Dana just did is pretty much what everybody does. So what you did, don't feel bad because you just don't have the information yet. But watch what we're going to do. First thing we're going to do, Dana, is we're going to take your script, which has a couple of things on it, and we're going to fold it so that all you can see is what you'll be reading. And then you were holding the script down here. And so when you do that, you have to look down. And in doing that, the camera, it looks like you're closing your eyes. And you look up and they're closed and I'm with you and I'm not with you. And so the idea is you want to stay open. And what you can do, and you can use either hand, is you want to hold your script about eye level. And if the shot, the frame which the camera looks at you is going to be in a, let's say close-up, about here to here, you can hold the script out here. It won't even be seen. So before you're holding the script up here and you're blocking half your body, and if you just simply fold it up and put it to the side, you're opened up. Now, when you start the cold read, I want you to start by making that connection with the camera. Spike the lens. Look deep into the camera lens. And to make sure you're square with the camera, make that nose the one that points to the lens. Okay? And try to picture a person, your husband or a friend, mom or dad, in the camera. Make it somebody you're telling this to that you care about. And that you're telling them this for the first time, these incredible cookies that you got, okay? And the next thing we're going to do is a technique called stop, talk, lock, and finish. And it's a cold read technique that I learned several years ago, and I want to share it with you. We're going to hold the script up here. We're looking into the camera lens. They say action. We're going to take a pause for a count of 2. So they say action. I'm going to look over, get the words in my head, I'm going to stop, lock onto the camera, then I'm going to talk. I used to come up to this cabin with my parents when I was little. And finish. Imagine it's like a dart you're throwing, and that dart sailing across the room, landing on the dartboard and vibrating at the end. So when you say your sentence, again making statements, I used to come up to this cabin with my parents when I was little. That's the dart. Once that's happened, you've finished, then you can go and get the next line. Okay? Stop, lock, talk, and finish. Let's try a little bit.
Okay.
See? Remember to hold it up to the side. You can bring it in even more. More. Well, there you go. And are you on your side? You can hold it right out there. There you go. Go ahead and look there. And now look here. And do you see how she's now staying open to the camera where before she was closing herself off? Let's try one. Ready? Action. Let's start to the camera. Ready? Smiling. Warmth, charm, personality. You're selling cookies here. Okay. Action.
I used to come up to this cabin with my parents when I was little. My mom would bake her homemade cookies when we were there. Simple, but probably the fondest memory as I've ever had. And today, thanks to Mom's cookies, it's probably the fondest memory I'll ever have.
Very, very good. Now, there was one or two of the words in here that kind of tricked on your tongue a little bit, and that happens when you have a brand new cold read. So if I have time, and I get to the audition, and I get the copy or the script, then I know how to practice. This is what I do. I will grab my script, I will go to the nearest wall, and I don't care what the other actors are doing, if they hear me or anything. I'm going to go to that wall and I'm going to read to the period. I'm going to make statements with this script. I used to come up to this cabin with my parents when I was little. My mom would bake her homemade chocolate chip cookies here. So here I'm just getting the information, hearing it for the first time, let it happen on my tongue for the first time. Then I'm going to overemphasize every sound of every word. This will help stretch out my mouth for those hard words, again locking those words into my mind, saying them out loud. So it would be something like, I used to come to this cabin with my parents when I was little. My mom would bake her homemade chocolate chip cookies here. And that's phase 2. The third and final thing I'll do, if I have the time, is I will then find a spot of reference and do it for the camera, like it was the camera, like I would at the actual audition. I used to come up to this cabin with my parents when I was little. Now, the thing about cold reads is they're not always easy. Not all the words, not all the, it's very difficult because you feel like you got to keep going. Now, I noticed on your finished, it was a nice finish, but it was a little bit longer. You want to shorten that finish just a little bit for the audition. For practice, I like what you're doing. And this is definitely something you can practice anytime and should practice at least 10 minutes a day by simply picking up a book or a magazine, the Bible, whatever, and you can literally cold read with any material. And the more you do this, the more you'll be able to look over and get more words or a phrase and then turn to the camera. So, some people, when they start out, they can't remember a lot. And so it's something, I used to come up to this cabin with my parents when I was little. Now, if you're just starting out, that's just fine. That's just fine if you're just starting out. But if you're practicing 10 minutes a day, you're going to start getting phrases. And one thing people tend to worry too much about in a cold read such as this is getting all the words right, just as they're written on the page. Well, it's a cold read. We have some understanding, and as long as you're paraphrasing or getting the gist of what they're saying, you don't have to get every single word correct. So don't worry if you mess up a word. Don't worry if you don't get all the words in. And the idea is to just be yourself. And if you have the technique behind you, stop, lock, talk, and finish, and it becomes second nature, like you ride a bike. Yeah, do you ride a bike?
Oh, yes,
yeah.
I do.
Well,
Absolutely.
do you think about pedaling or
No.
steering or balancing?
It's natural.
Well, absolutely. That's what you want this to be. When we're little, we just rode our bikes, and now we just ride our bikes. We don't think about all that stuff. We don't want to be thinking about the cold read technique when we come up to audition. We want to have that technique like riding a bicycle. We can do it in our sleep, so that then that wonderful charm, that incredible personality, and the wit and the humor can all come from you, and you can be yourself more. Don't get caught up on technique. Get the technique, like riding a bike, second nature, and then free it up and be yourself. Now, I want you to do this one more time. And as you noticed, I was using my hand this time. And normally people do when they speak. So if we're holding this with one hand instead of two, we're also free up to use our hand. We're going to let Dana do this one more time from the top, using her hands and being herself. Standing by, looking into the camera. Relax, breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Action. Action.
I used to come up to this cabin with my parents when I was little. My parents would bake their homemade chocolate chip cookies while I was there. Simple, but probably the fondest memories I have ever had. And thanks to Mums, that memory will probably never fade. Mums are crunchy on the outside and chewy on the inside. Just like the ones my mom used to bake. Mums, try and remember.
Well, that was outstanding, Dana. You know, what you guys should do is rewind this tape a little bit, go back to see the first time she did it, and then fast forward again to the last. You are something else. I mean, you learned this so quickly and did such a great job with it. And remember, the idea is to get the technique out of the way so that you can come through to the camera. You guys got to practice this 10 minutes every day. You know, stand up, look, sound, and act like a professional. They just might believe you.